for Narottam Das Thakur and all the devotees in that kirtan. Or Krishna may appear at least in the hearts of the devotees. Or if you're very fortunate, you might get to see Radha Madan Mohan smile a little bit in the middle of the kirtan. Tada sabai sarva indriya saman. Sakalera madhya Krishna chandra hoy pran. With Krishna again in their midst, the boys, they got their life back, their prana back. Bhaya boli sabe Krishna stai jaya, Krishna chandra se kare aira jalaya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. At that time, all the boys went running to Krishna, and Krishna appeared before each and every one of the boys individually. Mamata adike Krishna alingana koila, ananda hridoye vasalana brajadila. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Mamata adike Krishna alingana koila. Then each one of the boys embraced Krishna with great love. And Ananda Hridaya Vatsa Lana Brajyaila. Along with the calves, they returned to Braj. This pastime reminds me something of Krishna's pastime of chastising Kaliya. And it's said in the Bhagavatam that Vina Ramena, one morning without Balaram, Krishna and the boys went out to herd the cows. Krishna had previously promised Mother Yashoda, she took him aside and she said, Gopal, you're a very mischievous boy. I know you do what you like to do, but one thing, you can go anywhere in Braj, but don't go near the abode of Kaliya. Krishna said, yes, Mother. And then immediately what did he do? He went to Balaram. He said, Balaram, Mata told me like this, but what can I do with the cows? And Balaram said, okay, I understand. He said, you can go there. He said, but don't go in the water. And Krishna said, I won't. It's okay. And so that particular day, Vina Ramena, without Balaram, it was, some say it was Balaram's appearance day, the cows had gone ahead, and the boys were just behind them. The boys were singing and dancing as they were moving, and Krishna was coming behind all of them, playing on his flute. And as the cows were going, they were very thirsty. It was a very hot day. And in the distance, they saw some green grass in a place they'd never gone before. And they went there and began eating the grass. And they saw the water of the Jamuna, and they began drinking. And that water was contaminated by the poison of Kaliya. And the cows fell over dead. At that time, the boys, not knowing what had happened to the cows, were singing and dancing as they were coming. And then they stopped. And they saw all the calves laying dead on the bank of the Jamuna. And the boys were shocked. And for a long moment they just stood there, not knowing what to do. And then, as if they were one body, without saying anything amongst each other, they all began to move to the Jamuna to drink the water. Because they wanted to commit suicide. Because for the boys, they would rather die than have to explain to Krishna how they had failed him and how all the calves had died, which were under their protection. So the boys drank the water and they died. And then Krishna was coming, happily singing and playing on his flute. And he arrived at the bank of the Jamuna, the Kaliya. And he saw what was there. And Krishna stopped. And Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu says that Krishna became very confused. He became overwhelmed with lamentation. When we speak about Vishad, Krishna had all the symptoms of that. He became confused. He became stunned. He didn't know what to do. He thought, better that I die. How can I go? How can I return to Vrindavan? What will I tell the boy's mother? The mothers of the boys, what will I say to them? How can I tell them that the boys died? And then Jiva Goswami says a very wonderful thing. That from Krishna's heart his personified love for each of those boys and calves came out of his heart, through his eyes, in the form of his tears. And those tears fell down the bodies of the boys and the calves. And those tears brought them back to life again. Jiva Goswami says a similar thing in Paramatma Sandarbha in Anucheta 93. Yatu bhaktanam sukam tasya bhakti rupam eva. Our happiness comes from bhakti. Sooner or later, as we advance in devotional service in this process, we understand that really bhakti is what gives me happiness. Being with the devotees, being in Kirtana, hearing Krishna Katha, worshipping the deities, taking prasadam with the devotees, distributing prasadam, distributing Prabhupada's books to someone. This is what gives us happiness. Tatatesham dukam cha bhagavat praptantanarayanayava bhavati. He said, but when we can't connect with Gurudev, when we can't see him because he hasn't come to this place in 2 years, or maybe he left this world, when we can't go to the kirtan because we broke our leg or something happened, we can't go anymore, then we suffer. We feel very, very unhappy. And in that situation, it's a wonderful situation. You say, wonderful? How is that a wonderful situation? Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he describes that we have 3 friends. Dukkha, Trasa, Aparada, Jara, Anorjitam, Dadinata. Dukkha, Trasa, and Aparada are our friends. Unhappiness, Dukkha, Trasa, fear, and Aparada, the sense of having committed some offense. Because Anorjitam, Dadinata. These 3 things give rise to humility. If we accept them, which is the meaning of Vishad, Vishad Yoga. I accept the lamentation. A materialistic person never wants to accept it. I didn't do anything wrong. Even they abuse someone else. But they don't want to confess to being an abuser. And if they've done some bad thing, maybe they just turn to alcohol or drugs to forget about the bad thing they've done. But devotees, tatenu kamam sukshaniksamano, they accept it. They embrace it. Vishada, ada means to accept. This bisha, this poison, and means lamentation. Vishad, yoga. And so for a devotee who's in that situation and he can't come to the kirtan, he can't do the things that he wanted to do, those things which bring him great happiness, which now bring him dukkha, some unhappiness, he embraces that in the sense that he accepts, this is my fault. Because there's something wrong with me. Krishna's taken me away from association with devotees. Krishna's not giving me a taste. And when the devotee thinks like that and accepts it, just as Madhvacharya in his commentary on the Kaliyadamana Leela, he says that Kaliya, because he accepted the chastisement of Krishna, he saw Krishna. Of course, he already saw Krishna before, but he saw Krishna means Premanjana Chita Bhakti Vilochanina. He saw Krishna with the eye of love after he became purified, because he accepted Krishna's chastisement. And Madhvacharya says that people who don't accept the chastisement of the Lord, they never see the Lord. They never see the hand of the Lord. So for a devotee in such a situation, like the cowherd boys, who lament, why should I continue living like this? This is my fault. Something happens. Jiva Goswami says in Paramatma Sandarbha, Tatra Bhagavati Vichitradartha Jayate. At that time, Krishna's heart melts. Just as Krishna's heart melted when he saw the cowherd boys and the calves lying dead. And something happens then. Sa Shabhaktir Evati. When Krishna's heart melts, it becomes bhakti. And Krishna's heart melts when he sees that the devotees are so determined. They're not going to give up their bhajan. In spite of all the difficulties, they're not going to say, it's not my fault. This shouldn't happen to me. They're not going to deny those things. Rather, they'll embrace those things. Once there was a devotee, Indian body devotee, in Bhubaneswar. So one of the Western devotees accused him that you stole my MP3 player. And the devotee went to our Guru Maharaj and he said, Guru Maharaj, it's not true. And Guru Maharaj called him, excuse me. He said, did you do this? He was chastised. He said, Guru Maharaj, I didn't do it. Really, I didn't do it. And Guru Maharaj told him, never mind whether you did it or not did it. You just admit to it. You just accept it. And that'll be good for you. He didn't do it. But it's good for him. Krishna's putting me in such a situation. Let me accept this thing. And if we have that kind of attitude, then Krishna appears for us. So I want to thank all of you so much for letting us take part in this wonderful festival. We all want to make Krishna appear on Janmastami through this Kirtana mela ahead of time, through this chanting. These are the little thoughts. We'll continue this again tomorrow. If anybody has any questions, we can go on.
Thank you so very much.
The devotees could please pass these back. We'll use them again tomorrow. And if you want to keep them, you can keep them on the last stage. No problem.
Hare Krishna, we are now continuing with the Kirtan. Please let us all sit again before the altar. Hari Seva.